Hey y'all, and welcome to the Birmingham Real Estate Market Update COVID-19 special. This is the 11th week of us doing this, and each week we are going through and looking at the numbers for our Birmingham real estate market. We're looking at sales, we're looking at inventory, and we're just trying to get a feel for how this pandemic is affecting our market and what to expect from not only looking at the market now, but also going forward. So we've got the numbers from this week. We've got the numbers from May have just come in, so we can look at how the pandemic affected our market in May. And then we've also got some kind of numbers, statistics on the stimulus and that's effect on our nation, our state, and our city here in Birmingham. So let's get started on the numbers. We had closings. Oh, my name is Rob.h.drum. I'm a real estate broker here in Birmingham, Alabama. And my contact information will be in the description below if you want to reach out to me. And let's get on to the numbers here. So we had 500 closings last week. That compares to the same period the year before at 745. And these numbers are live numbers coming straight off MLS, and they get updated as agents upload their closings. So they kind of change from the time that I look at them to the week past. So what we saw for last week, we are going to revise that number to 409 closings versus 460. So really getting closer and closer, hopefully, to kind of a normal amount of closings. We'll kind of get into that, especially the numbers for May in just a second here, but you can see that we're still running consistently below the closings each week that we've been seeing. As far as inventory, we see a continuation of a trend that we've been seeing where every single week we've had less and less listings come available or that are available on our market. So these are the active listings that are available to buy. And this week we actually saw a huge decrease in the number of active listings. We saw that go from 4,033 to 3,909. So over 100 less available listings on our market. And what we've also seen is the number of homes that are under contract to sell has been really increasing the entire time we've been going through this pandemic here. So we saw that again this week, only one higher, but still holding strong at that number of homes that are under contract to sell. So when you take these two numbers together and these two kind of patterns, what you see is the picture of tight inventory and getting tighter. And so when agents talk about a lack of inventory, which that's kind of the story that every agent will tell you right now, that's what they're talking about. That's like a visual representation, numbers wise, of what we're seeing. So let's get into the numbers for May. And I want to just reiterate, before we get into this, we're going to look at the May numbers, and we're also going to compare that to the April numbers. And before we get into that, I just want to kind of talk for a second about one, where these numbers, just kind of put these numbers in context. So listings are houses that were listed in May. That's kind of a live May number. People made the decision to list their home and put it live on the market. The solds are for deals that closed in May. So real estate deals take 30 to even up to 60 days to close. So these deals that closed in May were really put together right in the middle of the pandemic in April or even March. And so it's kind of a whole different dynamic. For the closings that we saw in May were representative of really a very different mindset as a city, as a country as a whole, from where we were in April to where we were in May. I think in May we were kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Lots of stuff started opening up through the month of May, whereas in April we were full lockdown, pretty much, just very minimal contact with the outside world. So that's reflected in these numbers, and I think when we get the June numbers, we'll be able to see the deals that were put together in May. And I really think those are going to be drastically different, because we kind of just opened the floodgates, turned on the economy again, started cranking it back up. So I think they'll look a lot different. I can't wait to see that. But so yeah, we have a drop off in listings in May of about 14%. We have solds, about 23.5% less houses were sold. And one thing I really want to point out here is we have this decline of 2.91% in the average sale price. So I want to kind of explain that. And I did in a previous video, I showed where the sales in the higher ranges of our market, so over about 600,000 or 700,000, have really dropped off during this kind of pandemic period. Part of that's because of financing. Part of it could be because of just appetites from buyers in that price range. But we're seeing a way less activity in that top range. So a lot of this decrease in solds is going to be attributed to the higher price ranges, which is going to not pull that average number up as much. It's going to kind of be a drag on that average sale price number right here. But it doesn't really drag on the median sale price as much. So I think this is a more realistic number, more realistic representation of what's happening in our market. So it's still positive, not as positive as we've been seeing. So something to keep an eye on. I personally don't think that's going to have an effect, going forward through the rest of the year. I think we'll see that kind of bounce right back up to running at a rate that's in the probably 8% range. That's what we've been seeing for the first couple months of this year before the coronavirus hit. And part of that is because of this number right here. The list to sale is higher than it was last year by about 0.5%. Just, anecdotally, I know in my business, almost every contract that my clients have is at or above list price. Most realtors that you talk to are gonna tell you that their clients are, for the most part, at or above list price on their contracts. So we're continuing to see that. Days on market, we saw decrease. That's kind of standard. We've continued to see a decrease, and in the median days on market, we're really right about the same. So wanted to also compare. We're always comparing year over year, but I think it's also, especially right now, it is kind of interesting to compare the April numbers that we had to the May numbers. And so when I talked about listings being a little more of a leading number, and you can see the decline in homes that were listed in April. And I know that I had clients, and even myself, I was a little bit worried about bringing some listings live in April. But once I kind of spoke to other realtors and saw what was happening in the market, I said, let's go ahead and get these listings up. People are still buying. There's very little inventory, and all the homes I listed in April are under contract at or above list price. So that's that reflects the fear that was in the market, and it may be part of the reason that we have this drop off in sold volume. I think that is definitely contributing. But you can see the difference in listings where we had a huge drop off here in April, not as much of a drop off in May, and I think in June, hopefully, we'll be kind of right in line with last year. And at some point, I think we'll see kind of a compensation for that time period that will flip, and we'll actually be running higher in the amount of listings coming on the market, just because some people have been worried. They haven't been able to move for whatever reason, furloughs or any of the stuff that's been going on. So I think that will hopefully flip, and we'll get more inventory on the market later on in the summer as people, have wanted to sell, but it hasn't been the right time. And hopefully, we're already seeing a light at the end of the tunnel for this whole coronavirus. So hopefully that will kind of break and we'll resume normal lives. Fear will pull out of the market, and we'll be able to really open up here. So that's really it for the May numbers. I did want to talk about the stimulus and also unemployment. So something that was really interesting in the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, what they put out just a little report that showed personal income surged 10.5% in April. And you would think, with coronavirus, people were out of work, being furloughed. How did that happen? And it's just very clearly from the things that we've been talking about on this show, the PPP loans, the direct payments from the government, the unemployment benefits, the 600 per week benefits, all the things that have been available to us that, have been meant to kind of cushion us as they shut down the economy completely. So all that income has come in, and at the same time, we haven't really had any opportunities to spend it. So consumer spending fell 13.6%, which is a huge part of our GDP. They're expecting a decrease in GDP for the second quarter of this year. But what it also did, that combined higher income surging with lack of spending, it provides on the whole a cushion of savings for us. So that's it's really what they were trying to do, and it looks like that's what they're accomplishing with all this stimulus is, hopefully making people feel comfortable so that when we open up, as we are now, people will go back and spend at restaurants and stimulate the economy and in every kind of way. So if you're not feeling this personal income surge, there's a lot of programs out there, the ones that I mentioned. You can go back and watch some of the previous videos. There's just a lot of things out there that are designed to help you and get you through this time. So if you're struggling, there's a lot of different things that you can utilize. And then the other thing is unemployment on our state in particular. I always like to look at the data specifically in our area as much as possible. So in Alabama, they're expecting a jump. These numbers are really lagging, so they're just now getting estimates for April, and they're expecting a jump from 3% in March to 12.9% in April. And that compares to other states, really kind of right in the middle of the road. We're ranked like 25 out of 50 on statewide unemployment. And Birmingham specifically is slightly better than the state as a whole. We are at 11.9%, and that's kind of in the top 3 metros in the Alabama. Of all the metros in Alabama, we're in the top 3. So thank y'all for watching today. My name, again, is Rob Drum. I'm continuing to do these Birmingham market updates every week, so I'd love it if you would subscribe, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you.